Hey guys, I'm Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing. I forgot to turn on my record function. That's awesome. Hey guys, I'm Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing. um, so today we are going to be continuing to work on our raising hammer, which I totally forgot to update that we're on day 2. So we took our puck of steel and we turned it into kind of like a rectangular block of steel. So I'm pretty happy with how it's turned out so far. However, we need to draw this out so it's longer and thinner in all directions. So that is what we're going to be doing today. So first things first, we are going to start up the forge because it is super, super cold. And I need to get a little bit warmer. We're back down into the 30s Fahrenheit, so we're probably around 0 Celsius. Because we're really close to freezing. Alrighty. Let's toss that in the forge so we can get some warmth in there. And we can close this up a little bit. There we go. Alrighty. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change the stream information real fast. Apologies. There we go. Now it indicates that we're on day 2. All right, coolies. So yeah, headphones. It's loud. Hey Corwin, afternoon. I'm doing pretty good actually. I'm pretty fair. So yeah, you know how on Wednesday y'all were like, why is the camera so close up? Well, I learned while I was messing with or setting up the camera today that I had moved the close-up ring, or I guess the the zoom ring. That's what it's called. I had moved the zoom ring by accident. And honestly, I don't know why I thought, but I totally thought that my wide lens was a stationary lens that didn't have any zoom function, and apparently it does. So I brought us to a happy medium where we don't have too much extra on either side, but where I'm also not cutting off my head either. So I hope that it's a little bit of a better view for you guys. So like I said, we are going to be doing a bit of tapering and drawing out on this piece of steel. I don't really want it to be wider at one end and shorter, smaller on the other. I want everything to be nice and parallel, but we are going to reduce the bar size across the entire bar. It's a little bit fat in every direction, and I wanna fix that. So that's what we're planning on doing for the day. Looks good. I can see you and the anvil. That's exciting. That's exactly what I want. I want you guys to be able to see the anvil in the wide shot in case I forget to change to the close-up shot. Because there's a lot of times where I will be off in my own little world and I'll forget to switch cameras. So I want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing in the wide if I forget. I'd rather change the cameras so that, I can get, more of a view on, the close-up camera. What is that? Is this my magnet? No, it's not my magnet. I don't know what this is. That's very strange. It looks like it is. Oh, it's not looks like, it is. It is the top of a bolt. I don't know why it was there. It must have moved from someplace else. Yeah, I apparently had cut the top of a bolt off, and it was just like the hex section of it. It's weird. So yeah, if we can get our piece of steel to the correct dimensions, I have already taken our punch and I redressed it. So we will be able to start punching our hole and for the hammer handle, and that's my goal. My goal is to get to punching today. So we are in the middle of an ad break. I mean, the first ad break, that's usually what happens. So yeah, it is kind of cold today. Like I said, it's close to freezing. We've still got the snow from like last Friday, and I'm not thrilled about it. I was hoping that it would get a little bit warmer yesterday, and so that it would start melting off, but it hasn't. We've gotten quite a bit of snow still hanging around, and the snow always makes it seem and feel a little bit colder than when it like everything is dry. So yeah. So today we do have some tree trimmers across the street, kind of at like a kitty corner angle from the shop. So even if the tree were to completely cut down and like fall across the street over towards the shop, it would not reach the shop. So it shouldn't be too much of an issue. It might cause a little bit of noise at some point, but I doubt it. It's 35 here. Feels nice relative to yesterday. Yeah, it was super, super cold here today. Yesterday, it wasn't too bad, although I didn't really go outside yesterday. Yeah, I stayed in the house for most of the day, and I was editing. I made 5 shorts, and so I uploaded those, and I started working on the week after next video. So that was, it is what it is. I have this like schedule. When you're self-employed, you don't have a boss. You kind of have to give yourself a schedule and like stick to it. So it's been, a long time being developed, but it's working, and I'm working it out. I had some issues with TikTok yesterday. They have this new feature where you can take long form videos, and it will automatically, using AI, chop them up into TikToks. And you definitely want to edit those AI chops, because a lot of them end in like halfway through a sentence, or like they don't end quite at the end of the sentence that they are supposed to finish on. So I was playing around with that for a little bit, but I ended up having to stop editing for a moment, and they said that they were going to save my changes and stuff. So when I closed that tab and I opened up a new tab when I was ready to continue editing, it decided to kick me out of my TikTok on my desktop, which is rather annoying and odd. So it took me quite a while to find a way to upload next week's videos onto TikTok. I actually had to use the butler's computer. Evening sandwich, evening. So yeah, I was a little bit irritated. And I mean, it's a beta feature, so I shouldn't expect too much, but it would have been nice to be able to chop up some of my longer form videos and turn those into shorts, because I'm starting to run through my my backlog of YouTube shorts, and I'm not quite at a point where I can start taking or making 7 shorts out of the three streams that I usually make my shorts from. I can usually get about 5, but I can't consistently get 7 with like good content. So it would be nice to be able to cut my long form videos relatively easily. So I don't know, maybe I'll just have to manually do it myself. I could probably do that. So we shall see how that works. Let's see, how's our steel doing? It's starting to warm up. We're at a really, really dull red color. So we need to wait a little bit longer, wait for that lovely bright orange, bright yellow color before we go over to the press. I do actually need to bring the bottle jack down, so I think we'll do that while we're waiting. My normal headphones, right? I'm pretty sure they are. I was doing a little bit of grinding over the past couple days, and when I'm grinding stuff alone, I tend to listen to music. So my white headphones that I used to use, I usually use those when I'm alone and I'm not streaming. So I can listen to music through the Bluetooth. I usually put them away, but for whatever reason, I forgot which headphones I grabbed today. So how have you guys been over the past couple of days? I did a lot of editing yesterday. I didn't do too terribly much else besides that. Did a little bit of gaming, but you know, that's kind of an everyday occurrence for me. I do a lot of gaming. Kind of one of those cheap pastimes, you know. You can pay $15 a month for an MMO, and then you get an entire month's worth of entertainment. And I mean, the dollars to hours of entertainment, I mean, you cannot beat it. Earlier today, I raised the bottom platform to see if it was more, or if I could get a little bit of extra oomph out of the press, because the less stretched the springs are, the more pressure you get. And it turned out that the piece of steel is a little bit too thick still. But that also means that the bottom plate isn't always like lined up perfectly. It looks a little bit better now. Of course I drop it. Hockey duck. I got a new water thermos today. I think it came out of the butler's trunk. I'm doing good. My new welder arrived a day early, and now I'm waiting for some people on Marketplace to get back to me for some metal and a free treadmill I found for a grinder motor. Ooh, that sounds like fun. It sounds like you're getting your shop really good and ready to go. I remember when you had less equipment and you were kind of like figuring out what you wanted. So it's really nice to see that you're starting to put your shop together. Hopefully you'll find all of the pieces that you need and be able to get moving on in your own shop. It's always exciting to be able to forge your first few things in your own shop with your own equipment. And it's always exciting every time I get a new piece of equipment. It's like playing with a new toy. Yeah, I've been doing some research and found scraps to make a 2x72. That's nice. 2x72s are so easy to get belts for. They're like everywhere because 2x72 is such a standard size. My problem is my belt sander is like a lot smaller than that. It's actually powered by, or it's like an attachment that I can put on a bench grinder. So I have a 1 horsepower bench grinder from DeWalt. And so I was able to buy this attachment for it. And so instead of having 2 grinding wheels, I have 1 grinding wheel and the attachment that has my belt sander. But I think the belts are relatively proprietary. So I finally found the catalog that came with the attachment. So I should be able to replace some of the belts. But it's been so many years and I have used the hell out of those belts. So I'm probably going to have to buy like an entire new set of all of the different grits that I use. So, it's just really nice to be able to replace things easily. Grind sand, any polish? I don't actually, well, I do have polishing, but I don't have large scale polishing. All of my polishing is like for a Dremel, right? Or like a flex shaft for, my jewelry setup. So I need, I really want to get a couple more bench grinder motors so that one I can put like a wire wheel on one side and a polisher on the other. And I really, really want that because, it's always nice to be able to get some really high finish pieces. I contemplated one of those, but my grinder is weak, as is my 1x30. Yeah. You got to be like, you have to have at least a 1 horsepower motor for the attachments. You know what they say, men never grow up, just the toys become more expensive. I find that sexist. Why shouldn't that work for women? Doesn't mean it isn't 100% true for me, though. Right? I mean, I know so many women who, as they grow up, they go from like coloring books to like entire rooms of crochet and paint by numbers and, just like an entire crafting area, like sewing and things like that, crocheting, knitting, all of that. I mean, it's definitely true with both genders, and I'm sure with non-binary people as well. It's like the more money you have to throw at your hobby, the more money you're going to. We go from allowances from our parents to extra money from our jobs, and hopefully that gets a little bit of a higher budget over time. Of course, of finer. Yes, like I said, I have polishing kits, like I guess compounds, and then I have the little rags, but they're for my Dremel, as opposed to like on my bench grinder. And like I said, I really want to put together a wire wheel on one side and a polish on the other, so that I can get some really nice and shiny, amazing looking things. It'll also help a lot with dressing hammers, because the more fine a polish you can get on the face of hammers, the better for, I guess, finer blacksmithing or finer silversmithing. Let's check our heat. Looks like we're getting there. We're probably about good enough for a first heat, so let's try that. Let me, it's going to be a little on the colder side. We're going to have a quicker heat because the dyes are really cold right now. We got to heat them up. All right. All right. Still a little on the colder side. We didn't make any progress on that, so I'll just wait a little bit longer before I take it out again. Oh, did I forget to change the cameras? I probably did. Apologies for that. There wasn't much to see though, because I took it out of the heat a little bit too early. So there's over in the former neighbor's driveway, if you guys remember a couple of months ago, they tore down the two houses on that side, but they left the driveways and people have started parking in them. So I can see two cars parked in the former driveway over there. It's kind of weird. I think they're probably from the tree trimmer people that are over there today. The Twitch viewer count seems a bit weird. It shows me and one viewer, so I'm alone here. I don't know, because like Duel is here and I'm watching, and I think that Corwin's watching as well. So I don't know. The viewer count just went up to 3. It looks like over here. Ray is not a dwarven smith, but an elven artisan of Aragon who never went to Amon. I have never actually read the Aragon books. I know they came out when I was in like high school, maybe. And so I remember the books coming out. I just never got a chance to read them. My sister did. She said they were really, really good. It's on my list, but I feel like my list is like super, super long of like to be read. So I don't know. It's been a while since I've read any good books either, because I'm a mood reader, right? I get in the mood where I just want to read a whole bunch. And so then I just like consume book after book after book. And it's like, I usually, and when I'm in that mode, I do 2 to 3 books a week. Oh, Aragon is Tolkien. And Aragon is a tale based on Tolkien. Okay. Makes sense. Because, I mean, the book about dragons, you know, that the kid wrote, I mean, it probably had inspiration from Tolkien as well. But yeah, I get ravenous about books, but when I'm not in a reader mood, I don't read, which is a shame, because, you know, my to be read list keeps getting longer and longer. And, you know, when I get in the book mode, I feel like they tend to be longer in between, book phases. I think right now I'm just in a gaming phase because we just changed MMOs. I had been playing WoW for a really long time, and I'm kind of still playing WoW, but they just put in their pre-patch for their expansion, and the big thing to do is housing, but you have to pre-order the expansion. I don't really like pre-ordering games, It's like you pay your money and you don't get to play, right? So we're kind of starting to play Elder Scrolls Online again. J.R.R. Tolkien has become a sort of mountain, appearing in all subsequent fantasy in the way that Mount Fuji appears so often in Japanese print. Sometimes it's big and up close, sometimes it's a shape on the horizon. Sometimes it's not there at all, which means that the artist has either made the deliberate decision against the mountain, which is interesting in itself, or is in fact standing on Mount Fuji. Terry Pratchett. Yes. Yeah, and I mean, because The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings were such an iconic fantasy series or couple of series, it's become such a monolith. And yeah, everybody takes inspiration from Tolkien. From the way elves look to, just the way magic works. And yeah, it's kind of a magical in its own way, It's like, what would it be like to be that kind of iconic where everyone after you just does things the same way, or takes inspiration from you? It would be incredible. I won't lie though, Terry Pratchett is an icon in his own right, It's just, the whole Discworld and like every series within that world is so iconic and amazing, But yeah, so Mr. Pratchett is wonderful. Yes. So I have this thing where when I had an ex-boyfriend, and he's the one that like got me into blacksmithing in the beginning, and he was obsessed with Terry Pratchett, but he was obsessed almost in like a negative way. And so it kind of colored my perception of Terry Pratchett's novels for a while. And so I had to like force myself to get into reading him. I've read one. I think I read Mort. But I really need to get into more of them. I did actually watch some of the series, like I think was it Amazon made a few, or the BBC also made a couple of them, like Hogfather and what was it? It was the series about the Night Watch. Clack overhead, GNU Terry Pratchett. But yeah, so I saw that series and it was really good. And it makes me really want to read the rest of the books. I need to get into my reading mode, They made it onto my, I want to read them list, but I just haven't gotten around to doing it yet. And I need to just sit down and do it, But I mean, I spend a lot of time editing and content creating and streaming, so I don't have quite as much free time as I used to, last year or the year before. So I just need to make time. Hogfather is wonderful. The Watch series is an abomination. That disowned Terry. Did it? The butler said it was really good. I don't know. I will have to read the books and then I can give my own opinion, you know? I can't really give an opinion until I know the source material. All right, we've got a little bit more heat this time, so let's change the cameras and make an attempt to get a little bit of progress in. Like we're going to need a lot more heat before we start making more progress. I gotta be more patient. I hate being patient. It was a good series that had a vague veneer of Pratchett added to the money, or to get the money to make it. It had very little to do with Pratchett's works. I've seen that happen a few times. So Alan Moore is one of my favorite graphic novel or like comic book writers, and he's the one that originally wrote V for Vendetta and Watchmen and a few others, and like A League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and he absolutely hated A League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And it was all right. It wasn't amazingly, it didn't follow the story very well. It kind of veered off into random directions. Alan Moore detests all of the adaptations of his work. I mean, yeah, he does. He really does. I feel like unless people do like panel for panel, word for word, his written scripts, I think that he'd hate them, you know? And I mean, I really can't blame him too much, because I mean, some of the stuff that has come out of people misinterpreting and becoming obsessed with V for Vendetta is kind of you know? Like, the work was incredibly progressive, and there have been a lot of people who have co-opted some of that, like that property, and have twisted the meaning of it. They are all good, but the comic books are all better. Yes, definitely. I love V for Vendetta as a series. Watchmen is absolutely amazing. I'm not talking about the recent series, because DC bought the Watchmen property and they started doing a new series. And I haven't read that, but like the original Watchmen that all of that is based off of was amazing. It was incredible. The world building, you know. So we've got an ad starting in about 30 seconds or so. I guess my timer says in 10 seconds, but it always like hesitates before, you know, giving the ads before the timer starts or whatever, or when the timer counts down. So I'm never sure, you know, when the ads are going to actually start. I always try and guess, and I usually guess about 30 seconds, but a lot of times it's more than that. Sometimes it's less, you know, I'll be like halfway through a sentence. Looks like the inside of the forge is starting to heat up a little bit, so hopefully we'll start getting a lot more heat in the piece. I need to soak it for a little bit longer so we don't get more fish lips. Alan Moore is so good. Even a poorly misinterpreted version is still good. I mean, yeah. But when you lose the essence, then it starts getting a little less good, if that makes sense. So, yeah. All right, so the ads have finally deigned to show their face. So, yeah. I am going to change the angle on the camera just, you know, for the fun of it. We'll go from a little bit of a higher angle for the next couple of heats. So we're still working with a relatively thick piece of stock. And so we're not going to see quite as much movement until it starts getting a little bit thinner. We'll get a lot of movement when it starts getting thinner. I kind of feel like about halfway through the stream, we're going to really start seeing some movement, I think. If a few people went back and read the original and went, yes, that'll do. I mean, seriously, yeah. The original V for Vendetta is just like incredible. So reading Alan Moore's work, both V for Vendetta and Watchmen were very instrumental in shaping my outlook on life, I guess. And I mean, to a lesser extent, so did Neil Gaiman, or Gaiman, however you pronounce that. Paleontologista, hello, welcome to the stream. It says, hi, glad you're on. Yes, we're here. We stream on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2:30 Eastern US time. And I try very, very hard to show up every time. I think last Monday we had a power fluctuation, and so that made it difficult for me to continue, but we did actually stream for about an hour and a half. Hey, Bluesy, Krampus evening. I am busy, 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 I'll bet. Getting everything ready for the Christmas season. Are you having any holiday events on your farm or around your town? Oh, I know that there's a lot of like, a lot of farmers around here do things for like the harvest festival and things like that, but a little bit, I think it's a little less in the wintertime. Yankee, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for that raid. Welcome, welcome, guys. Not Christmas. Sinterlacus. Okay. Greetings, greetings. Let's get a shout out there. Welcome, welcome. Oh, I think that either Ping or Mahalo already got that. Welcome, welcome. Unlurk. Hey, Ping. Hello, everyone. Hi, Yankee. Thank you so much for the raid. I'm Ray. I am a blacksmith. I stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2:30 Eastern US time. Today we are working on making a raising hammer. It is a small hammer used in silversmithing. One of our viewers, Knott's Hubby, or John Brunel, made me a raising hammer, and this is that raising hammer out of Damascus steel. And I really wanted to take a shot at making my own version. So this is a combination of 1090 and 15N20. So a high carbon steel and a high nickel steel. And I'm going to be using 4140, which is a mid-carbon steel. It's got lots of other things in it. But yeah, I'm going to take my shot at making a lovely raising hammer. And that's what we're doing today. So on Wednesday, we spent a lot of time turning a round puck of steel and making it square. So we finally got it to its square profile. However, it's still really fat in all of its dimensions. So we are trying to draw it out, thin out all of the profile, make it a little bit longer, and then we'll start forming it into a hammer. So if we can get the right size, then I have done a little bit of dressing on this punch. And so this is what we're going to use to put the eye of the hammer into our hammer. So I've got this guy, it's all nice and ready to go. And then over there I have some lubricant, so hopefully it doesn't get stuck like it did for our last hammer. Poon Dog, thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream, welcome to the community. We are preparing for a feast of giving little gifts to kids. That sounds like fun. I love watching little kids' eyes light up when they're opening presents and they get something really cool. Blacksmith does not work silver or copper except when they do. I see my channel is called Ray's Smithy, not Ray's Blacksmithy, because I do a little bit of silversmithing and a little bit of goldsmithing. So I smith, but I don't just blacksmith, I don't just silversmith, and I don't just goldsmith. I do a little bit of everything. So that's why we are Ray's Smithy and not just Ray's Blacksmithy. Hello from Phoenix, Arizona. Hello. Is it warm there? I mean, the butler, my partner, used to live in Phoenix, went to college there, and it was relatively warm all year round. I think they said that it was like 50s, 60s at the coldest. Here we're almost at 0 Celsius or like 30-ish degrees Fahrenheit. So it's kind of on the cold side here today. I don't think you celebrate St. Nicholas Day over there, right? I mean, we celebrate Christmas and New Year's, and then in more niche circles, some people celebrate like Hanukkah and Kwanzaa, and then also like I think the 12 days of Christmas are a thing here. They happen usually after Christmas, but I don't think that we do like Krampus things as much. 60 degrees Fahrenheit is 15.5 Celsius, something like that, yeah. Raise whatever she feels like, Smithy. Yes, exactly. So, and I mean, there are also going to be times that I probably will have, because I also do a little bit of clay working. And I have a bunch of friends who are potters. So I'm not ruling out that you might not see some, glass work or some pottery on this channel at some point. I may not be the one who's doing it, but I'm not ruling out, anything that deals with hot and fire. I'm kind of a pyro. Krampus is something else. Okay. Butler is mistaken. It isn't relatively warm there. Remember, the devil went to Phoenix and decided it was too hot. Oh, yeah. So in Phoenix, or I guess in Arizona as a whole, I hear that you guys have to have special tires, because normal tires that, like all weather tires that we buy here in the Midwest of the United States, will melt in Phoenix. So, you know, when it's like really, really hot in the summer. And that seems a bit crazy, a little bit insane to me. Krampus sounds like what happens to my back if I sneeze too hard. From my understanding, Krampus is what happens to naughty little children. He pulls them out of their bed and shoves them in his sack, and away they go. I lived in Kansas for 2 years. Is that any worse? I'm not amazingly good with Western geography, or I mean, I guess Western U.S. geography. There are so many like rectangular states out that way that I kind of, I mean, like I know where Nevada is, I know where California, Oregon, and Washington, I know where those are, but some of the other states, like I get the Dakotas mixed up and things like that, so yeah. Smiths, the forge is hot. Oh, I missed a thing. The weather outside is most likely irrelevant, right? Ferguson, are you married? I have a partner, and I mean, yes, I'm married, but like, I don't really think that's relevant. Kansas is south of Nebraska. Just kidding. See, I don't know. On the morning of the 6th, children find their socks, or actually not their socks, but some sock-shaped little snack filled with sweets. That's what the socks then. So no socks filling at Christmas itself anymore. Oh, okay. So is that where our Christmas stockings come from then? I thought marriage gives you a +10 to blacksmithing. I don't know. I think that depends if the spouse is helping. My door's not cracked as much. Same tradition probably, I imagine. I missed the first part of that one. Saint's naughty list is traditionally given coal, but in Germanic countries, Krampus comes. Yeah. See, I prefer to be naughty and given coal. I don't think I would fit in Krampus's bag with the rest of the little naughty kids, you know? Give me all of the coal. All right, let's do a heat. All righty. The butler is amazing. They do all of the camera work when we are outside of the smithy, and it makes things so much easier for me. The press is being extra slow today. lost a good amount of heat because the press is being kind of on the slower side. Hopefully, as it warms up, it'll speed up. Ray's butler is honored to be tolerated by Ray. I can't picture bad Ray. I joined with Yankee Axis Raid. Hadn't seen a blacksmith on Twitch yet. Really cool. I try hard to make it entertaining. It's a little bit slow sometimes, but I try to make up for the hurry up and waiting by having some good back and forth conversation, you know? Sounds like the press is pneumatic. Do you add a little oil to the airline to ensure the seals are happy? I do have oil in the engine, like the motor of the air compressor. But I think it's a little bit, like I said, it's super cold. So I think that the oil is a little bit on the thicker side. And so it's kind of, like the pneumatic fluid, it's not going quite as smoothly. So I hope it warms up a little bit and then it should go a little bit quicker. I thought of you people when I saw blacksmithing booth at the Christmas market yesterday. There were 3 people, had 2 coal forges going. They sell miniature horseshoes with your name stamped on it as lucky charms for 20 euros a piece. That's not a bad price, you know, for a mini. How big were they? Were they like a couple centimeters or? Ray tries and usually succeeds. Yeah. I try. Now, I don't always succeed, you know. There have been times where things have catastrophically failed on me, i.e. the axe up there. I tried to forge weld the 2 together with a bit inside of it, and I just let it get to a little bit too dirty. Everything was a little bit too cold, and it just did not work out for me. I have subsequently done a few streams a stream where I did nothing but forge weld. And so I'm planning on doing a few more of those forge welding only streams over the spring. Right now, it's a little bit too cold to go out of the shop because, I mean, at least in this shop, the heat kind of as the forge goes, it gets warmer in here, you know? About what you showed, I'd say, oh, that's not a bad, you know? You can kind of pin it to your lapel. That'd be kind of a good project. I'm not really, I don't do a lot of horseshoes, and I don't do a lot of work with horseshoes, mostly because I just wanted to separate myself from farrier work, because farrier work is a lot different than blacksmithing. I mean, yes, there is blacksmithing involved in farrier work, but there's a lot of veterinary work, and the people who are farriers, they're studying, you know, the health of the horse, and that is not something that I am capable of. I don't think that I want to study that either. I don't think that I would like seeing sick animals, you know? I like healthy animals. Ray, you always succeed, even if it is succeeding in finding a way that does not work. Yes. Ferguson, take care. See ya. All right. Have a great rest of your day or rest of your night. Thanks for joining us. There's an oil you add to pneumatic tools such as impact guns and such. You add a little oil for ensuring a good seal of the internal cylinder of the tool itself. Might be worth looking into in order to make sure you're getting the most force and not just lost by blow by. Yeah, I'll look into that. I know that there is like pneumatic fluids, and I know that there's like oil that goes in the compressor, but I guess I didn't realize that there was oil that goes in the line. So I'll have to look that up. Thanks for that tip. I'm rather sure they were not farriers either. I mean, like I said, farrier is a very specialized position, or like, you know, job, or, you know, skill. Is that what the word I'm looking for? I'm not sure. Career, maybe? I don't know. Profession, yes. There you go. Profession. We got there. So yeah, hopefully everything starts warming up a little bit and getting a little bit quicker. So we're kind of early in the stream, well, ish. So hopefully we'll get some more work in. Like I said, it's kind of cooler, and my tools are really cold, and when they are cold, they sap more of the heat out, and so they move a lot less. Fingies is a little cold too, you know, fingers. So those of you who came from Yankee stream, what kind of axe was Yankee working with? I was able to catch him a couple days ago, but I wasn't able to catch him today. Anything good? It's always cool seeing Yankee working on the vintage axes, seeing like what type of axes, whether they're like, you know, the woodworkers ones for like shaving and carving wood, or, you know, the actual the axes that are, you know, for logging or, you know, splitting. That's always fun to see as well. Pneumatic is either air-based, unlikely, or fluid-based, usually oil, and top-up helps, but air bubbles are the enemy. Yes, definitely. I did, like, this is not the first bottle jack that came with this press. I had to replace this guy last year, and it's because the seal on I couldn't close it anymore, and it would just let all of the air out so that it wouldn't lower anymore. So I am aware of some of that stuff. Just, you know, it would be nice to have a little bit more speed, I think. German for farrier is Hufschmied, Hoofsmith, or Hoofbischla-Schmied, Hoof-fittingsmith. Technically, air is a gas. Gas is a fluid, and it follows the laws of fluid dynamics. Yeah, definitely. Even when it's like lighter than air, I mean, even like helium and hydrogen kind of follow fluid dynamics a bit. Something you gotta learn, you know? How we doing? We're getting a good amount of heat in there. I might try another round. Well, that's not going to help at all. There we go. It's better. getting a little bit more movement. You can kind of see it a little bit better on that side. Lodging the jaws of my tongs inside or between the two jaws of the press also does not help. That's what happened on that first attempt to squish. You guys are giving me really, really big old chunks of text, and I'm starting to lose some of them. I used to maintain industrial CNC. We once got a call because someone had dropped a 100-ton iron worker. We learned they tried to move it by pushing the top of the iron worker with a forklift. Naturally, it caught a crack in the shop. Concrete fell over. Needless to say, collaboration was uber forked. Yes, I'll bet it was. I mean, and sometimes those pieces can be kind of brittle because a lot of them are like cast. And, you know, when they fall over like that, there's always a chance that you're going to get a crack in it. Any type of little ferocity in your cast always has a chance to crack or, you know, exploit that weakness. Well, lava falls into the same category. I sheared a 3/4. We've got an ad starting in about 3 minutes, and my timer's all up in the way, so I can't see everything. I sheared a 3/4 drive square ratchet clean off. My boss had no idea that was possible. You're right. Even glass is fluid, kinda. This is a myth. Glass isn't an amorphic solid and does not flow. I have seen really, really old glass, and it does flow, like 150-year-old glass. If you like see some of the really old stained glasses in the churches in Europe, you can see that the glass kind of flows down, and it pools. We were able to repair the iron worker, but the head was turned maybe 20 degrees. I mean, like I said, I'm not shocked. Hey, OMGP, welcome to the stream. Glad to see ya. It is considered another material in molten state. Or is it considered another material in molten state? I mean, I don't know. I'm not an expert on glass. I have taken glass classes, so I did learn how to work with glass. But I mean, I'm open to, you know, other information. You know, I'm nowhere near an expert. When subsidy into glass, it's comparable to that of highly viscous liquid. However, claims that glass is a viscous liquid because its atoms are not ordered in contrast to other solids are not scientifically tenable, so kind of both. I mean, there are totally materials that act very similar to both solids and liquids, you know, so there's always an exception to every rule. Really old glass already has a bulge at the base. It always has had this for 100 years. But I mean, I've seen glass droop a little bit, especially if it isn't if it isn't industrially tempered. It gets a little bit droopy at times, like the old glass. I know we have some ancient glass around here. It's so jello, it does not come in banana. I mean, glass comes in a lot of different colors, but you kind of have to put pigments in it. I don't know that I like this cup. I grabbed this because it was sitting on like the counter. I think that the butler pulled it out of their vehicle yesterday because they had to clear out 2 extra seats because they were actually going to be driving people around. And I feel like I have a hole in my lip with it. It just, I think that it comes out of this bottle like right around here and not just from the, the place it's supposed to come out. It does move a few millimeters per million years. Greetings, Dr. Optimal. Today we are continuing to work on our raising hammer. On Wednesday, we squared up the material. We started with a round puck of steel, and we now have a rectangular shape. So we're trying to draw that out and get a little bit more length on it. Also, we want to thin it out so that it's a little bit closer to the model that we have, which is right here. We do have an ad break that is currently going on, so I hope you guys can see, or, I hope Dr. Optimal can see me answer his question. But yeah, we are squishing metal. We're squishing 4140 today. Even decades or centuries, glass. I can't even see this. Let's dismiss this. Streaks or thickening on the underside are often seen on historic glassware are due to manufacturing process used at the time, such as four-cut process. I also thought it flowed a bit. I have seen some mugs break at the glue seal between the lid and the base, especially if you ever put them in the dishwasher. That's probably what it is. Because, I mean, like I said, I think this was in the butler's vehicle, and you know how hot cars can get in the summer. So that's probably what happened. So, I mean, I guess it does make sense, or I mean, it definitely makes sense that there would be manufactured defects in old glass because, most of the old panes of glass were actually made by glass blowers, and some of their processes are not as consistent as our industrial processes that we have today. So I don't know. I will leave it at that, really, because I'm not gonna. It's more like I have anecdotal evidence, but like I guess I never saw these old panes of glass. When they were manufactured. Like my anecdotal evidence though is that my parents' house is 120 years old, and 2 years ago, they replaced all their windows, and so when they replaced the original panes of glass from when the house was brand new, they were thicker on the bottom than the top. So, I mean, maybe it was like that always, but they just seemed really drippy. I've seen some mugs. Oh, yeah. Classic, blame the butler. I mean, the butler's not here to defend themselves, so that's, it's free game, right? Wikipedia isn't always right either. I mean, like I said, I'm not an expert on glass. I've done a little bit of work with glass, but I'm clearly not an expert. I remember when the glasses were flat and they were created in the early 13th century. Yes, I'm a crone. Like, there are, several people that, people think are vampires. Are you one of them? Like, who are the people? Neo from the Matrix hasn't aged very much in the past, 20 or 30 years, So So if you're a crone and not a vampire, though, do you take do you sacrifice virgins to maintain your beauty? Glass does flow, but it is so slow that it takes millions of years. I like the idea of float glass, putting molten glass onto molten tin to get exactly even surface. Yes, that is why I do not stream. Mirrors do not display myself. You know, like Dorian Gray. Bluesy's got a painting of herself that ages instead of her. No, I do not try to maintain my beauty. Okay. Understandable. I mean, you get old enough and it's like, why bother, right? I am what I am. I'm going to age gracefully. All right. I am going to change the angle of this camera, mostly because it's been like a half an hour and I want to make sure that we've got, you know, a good... I want to make sure that I actually am getting these shots. There it goes. That's better. I am starting to think, though, that we probably won't get to punching the hole until probably Monday. Fingers crossed we'll get to the point where by Monday we'll be able to start punching the hole. People say my house is haunted, but that's total BS. I've been living there for 300 years now, and I've never noticed anything. Maybe you're the one that's haunting it. Let's see if I can get this out of here without causing myself hardship. Back in the heat. There we go. That's going to be better. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Just don't look at the beholder. Dr. Optimal, I served in the Army and was medically retired. I have some relatively disfiguring scars. Anywho, lurking as I need to get some more stuff up. All right. Well, be safe, have fun, and I hope the little kitties have fun. Thanks for joining for as long as you were able, and thanks for the lurk. It's starting to get to a comfortable temperature in here. That's always really nice because I come out here and before I get the forge started, it's like super cold. And then as we go, you know, the temperature starts raising and I eventually get pretty warm. I do have 2 layers on though. I've got a sweatshirt and I've got my flannel on. Did you mean kids as in goats or human? Bluesy is working on decorating a holiday party for kiddos. Because little goats are super cute. Yeah, they are super cute. I mean, and they're both called kids, so, you know, little children and little goats. They will, anyways. Krampus goes out on the prowl now, and your Saint Nick is merely a Sinkerlass with a bad exercise program. I mean, probably. See, I don't understand how Santa Claus can be as hefty as he is. I mean, the amount of, like, exercise that, or, you know, the amount of effort and energy that it takes in order to drive a sleigh and, you know, be able to do the midnight route, you would imagine that he'd be a little bit thinner. Human kiddos. See, that's what I thought that you meant. Not saying it's magic, but I mean, have you guys ever ridden a horse? I mean, riding a horse is such an exercise, like a core workout, you know? And the legs, you know? Because you got to kind of hold yourself on the horse by using your legs. And then there's a lot of horses that don't want to turn. So, I mean, using the reins, it's a full body workout. And I mean, I'm not saying that Santa is riding the reindeer, you know, because he's sitting in his sleigh, you know, but it's still a workout, you know? The goats are teenagers by now, are they? I would imagine, because I mean, they're out there being born in the spring. Use your legs to turn and sit back. My grandpa always used to say that. Now that you say that, I think that he used to say that to me when I rode the horses on the farm. Grandpa only had one horse named Jabez, and he really did not like being ridden. On a horse. Yeah, I get ya. I get ya. My grandpa also used to say, if you can see the whites of an animal's eyes, it's crazy and you shouldn't buy it. I bought plenty of animals that I could see the whites of their eyes, and I you know, my dog and my cat, and I love them. They are a little crazy, but my legs are slightly bowed, so it works well for riding. I mean, everyone's legs are a little bit bowed. The bones, at least, you know, they do have a slight bow to them. Yes, if you see the whites of an animal's eyes, they are too close or crazy. Something crazy's happening. I hear metal clanking. It might be them out there, though. I think it's them out there. You guys probably couldn't hear it because I got the sound or the noise suppression on, but I was hearing some metal moving around. That explains why most animals are scared of humans. I mean, you know, if you can see the whites of their eyes, you are pretty close to them. Because most animals have very large irises and pupils. My friend told me anytime he told his grandpa that he met a nice girl, grandpa would always say, "Did you check her teeth?" Apparently an old farmer's trick to measure health. They know we're crazy. Yep. Animals know people is crazy. People is crazy. All right. Oh, they're moving stuff out there. Moving stuff, moving stuff. Ah, that's not bright enough. It's only orange. I need to make it a little bit brighter. I thought we had it. We do not. Is it for horses and goats? Donkeys as well. Cats always wondering why we steal their poop. My cat always wonders why I steal his poop. I just do it so that the house doesn't smell. But my cat, I think that he feng shuis his litter box, and he's like, "You messed everything up." He's weird. But I mean, I guess we are weird too for, cleaning up after animals. But I mean, I think it's a little bit different. Animals that live indoors versus animals that live outdoors. I'm a lot less eager to clean up outdoor animal messes than I am cleaning up indoor animal messes. My cats go outside. I mean, yeah. Like I said, an indoor animal is different than an outdoor animal as far as like the willingness to clean up after them. They are farm cats. Makes the sense. Cats are very, they're a part of the farm ecosystem. You got to keep the vermin out of the grain and the other animals' pens. Otherwise, they can spread sickness. We are all weird, and with we, I do not mean us people hanging out in Twitch streams instead of meeting people in real life. I mean, yeah, people in general are really weird, but I somewhat feel like I am even more weird because I do hang out on Twitch and watch other people play video games and do crafting and, this sort of thing. Hey, I clean up after my goats, and back when I had cows, it was worse. Well, I mean, those are also, are your goats and cows indoors? Or are they pasture animals? Because, I mean, the barns, you definitely have to clean those up because you have to make sure that they're like, the animals aren't going to get sick from their own feces and things. And, your hay isn't rotting. And, there's a lot of things that you have to clean up after. But, in the pasture, it's less. I mean, maybe you do have to clean up. It's been a really long time since I've been involved in farm work. It is 10 p.m. Do you know where your kids are? Cows were indoors. Goats do both. That makes sense. See, cows oftentimes are indoors, especially if they're milking cows. My grandpa's cows were outdoor cows, though, primarily. They were meat cows, not milk cows. Luckily, I do not have any. Luckily for them and me. Yeah, I don't have any kids either. I think it'd be harder for me to blacksmith if I had kiddos. Did I do that thing already? I might have. Ah! Alright. We're not doing so hot today. I've lost like all my heat. There we go. That's better. I lost a lot of heat though. I don't know, guys. That heat kind of sucked. There we go. Better. You had 80 goats in spring. Wow. That is a big farm. 80. Yeah, I don't know that I can use this guy. I think that it is separating. I'll have to go back to my old one, but that one's in the dishwasher right now, and so I needed a different container, and that one was on the counter, so definitely need a different one. Ugh. I keep spilling water everywhere, and I'm always afraid that I'm going to spill it on my microphone. 80 kids, that's not too bad. Really? I feel like my only experience to goat farming or to goats in general, is just petting zoos, and 80 just seems like a lot of them. I used to have years of 150. Oh, okay. So when you say you're a goat farmer, you mean you have hundreds of animals. So are you using them for milk or their coats, or what are you using them for if you have that many of them? Do you shear goats? I feel like that's a sheep thing. I milk 222 goats at the moment. That is a lot of goats. Are you I can't imagine that you would be doing that many by hand. Do you have a machine that does them? I know that they have milking machines where you like hook up all of the little like milkers, and yeah. But doing 222 by hand would be a lot of work. It would probably be like an all-day thing. I used to have more, but a local petting zoo had their goats taken by wolves, so I sold them some of mine for cost. That's really kind of you. It is sad, though, that the wolves got the goats. That's why you got to have, a shotgun and get rid of the wolves. Oh, I milk them twice a day and I use a robot. See, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. If you're milking them twice a day. That is why I sold them 3 donkeys as well. Ooh, yeah, because you were telling me like a while ago that your donkeys prevent the wolves from coming near, because don't they like kick them in the head and like, yeah, that would be bad news for a wolf. I should stop talking directly to you, because you keep saying that you're going to go and decorate and work on your event, and then I keep seeing you in chat. So maybe I should not be talking directly to you. That way you don't have to keep coming back and answering my questions. I'm sorry. So we're not getting quite as much work done as I wanted today. So I don't know. I guess it's going to take me a little bit more time than I anticipated. I originally thought that it would take about 6 streams. This is stream 2, so I mean, I still have some time. I may not need to actually like add any more days. Hopefully I get it done on time. But yeah. They make a lot of noises, bite and kick. They are absolute nuisances for wolves. It just means Krampus needs to work a little later. Oh, You need your sleep too. Sleep is important, even if it's not for beauty. You gotta have energy to run around and chase the kids so they're not getting into trouble. Oh, yummy goats. Wait, that's a strange looking goat. Bonk blacks out, right? That's how I would imagine it going too. Exactly like that. Hey, Blue Red Metal. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining. See if I can get this in here without trouble this time. Well, that was a much better press. See if we can get one last one on the end there. There we go. Hey Ray, hey Bluesy, hey chat, hey Fox too. Here in NI, we had to reintroduce a wolf call or cult for biting people, also a kid. Sorry to lose them. Yeah, but that was the people's fault. They fed the wolves. Morning, Lexi. Welcome, welcome. So if you had to cull a wolf that you reintroduced, does that mean that you are, or that the people who were you rehabilitating the wolf? Is that how that works? It is sad when you have to cull an animal. Yeah, wolves are scared of people naturally. They'll try and avoid people as much as they can. Wolves are not like dogs. As many people, they think that wolves are like dogs, but they really, really aren't. Rats don't count as animals. Found a mouse in my water line. Ew. That's not cool. Definitely need to clean that out. That could cause a lot of problems of like rabies and all kinds of other diseases. Rats carry nasty diseases. Do not believe that in Dr. Andrews' P song. Oh, Dr. Andre. I don't know why I read it Dr. Andres, but yeah, it's Dr. Andre. So we should have, okay, so the ad break did just start. It just started. No, Dr. Andre P. used to be a Dutch weirdo. Really? Pre. Fine here. How's your day? I'm doing pretty good. Although I'm not getting quite as much work in as I was hoping that I could get in today. I was hoping that if we heated up this material really hot, we could draw it out a little bit faster than it's going right now. But I feel like it's taking a little bit of extra time just to get it really hot. And then because it's so cold today that in the beginning of the stream, we were getting a lot of heat dissipating out of our material before we were able to get it to work. So I don't think it's like terrible yet. I don't think we're off schedule, but you know, it would be nice to get a little bit of extra work done. Blizzy, you're fine unless you need to go. I mean, you do need to decorate, so go ahead. Thanks for joining. So yeah, other than my piece isn't moving quite as fast as I want it to, I'm doing pretty well. It's finally a nice comfy temperature in here. We're kind of a little cooler than, I think that we're probably in the 50s Fahrenheit. Even though it's like 30 degrees outside, which is like 0 Celsius. So we're probably, you know, about 20 Celsius in here, maybe. That might be a little high. I'm not really good at my conversion between Fahrenheit and Celsius. One of these days I'll get better at it. I try. But yeah, overall, I think I'm doing pretty good. I got some good work in on my video edits, you know. We're getting there. 50 Fahrenheit is 10 Celsius. Well, then I am way off because 32 Fahrenheit is 0 Celsius. So if 50 is 10 Celsius, then yeah, I'm way off. Let's do another heat. Way off. So we're getting a lot of angles going in. So this angle here is a lot more acute than this angle. So I think we're actually going to go to the anvil and we're going to try and re-true this up, make things right again. So I'm going to change the angle of the camera. We're going to go over here. That way we can kind of take a look at the anvil face. And I'm probably going to change tongs. Maybe these ones. Because I think these aren't going to work the way I want them to. For the moment. So I think Christmas is is a couple weeks away. How many weeks away is Christmas? Let's see if I can't find my calendar. So today is the 5th. That means that Christmas is a little less than 3 weeks away. So hopefully we'll have our hammer done before Christmas. But the week of Christmas, I will be streaming Monday, but I will not be streaming the Wednesday or the Friday because I will be going and visiting my parents in my hometown. There will be videos up on YouTube, so I should have a full complement of shorts as well as a long form video that comes out on Wednesday. That should be uninterrupted. However, like I said, I think that we will not be streaming on that Wednesday or Friday so that I have enough time to, visit with my family and, celebrate Christmas and stuff. So I just wanted to remind you guys of that. But I mean, we got 2 weeks before that, right? So we should be finished with that hammer before Christmas. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be. Like I said, I'm anticipating about 6 streams. It could be, 1 or 2 streams beyond that 6. But I'm hoping for 6. And after this hammer, I'm going to dress the hammer, handle it, and we're also going to be doing a little bit more dressing on our steak so that we can start working on making a piece of armor. I'm looking at making a pauldron as our next major project. I am debating, depending on when we finish the hammer, we might do a couple smaller projects and push the pauldron back in or until the week after Christmas. We'll kind of play that by ear, but our next major project is going to be a pauldron, and you guys get to help me decide what design we want to do for that pauldron. Whether we want to do something from pop culture, like maybe we want to do the Mandalorian's pauldron, or we want to do like Cloud Strife's pauldron. Maybe somebody from another media, or we could also do something a little bit more historic. And so I do want to limit it to 4 pieces. So if we are doing an articulated pauldron, we'll do the shoulder cup and then no more than 3 panels that are articulated panels. And that will be the first piece of armor that we do. I am planning on eventually, over time, probably a few years, doing a full set of armor, but we are going to be doing it 1 piece at a time. So we'll be doing pauldrons, gorget, breastplate, tassets, sabatons, gauntlets, the whole gambit, but well over time, 1 piece at a time. Let's see. I'm also planning on doing some more forge welding, but that's going to be in the spring. So it'll probably be about March or April before I get into doing more of the forge welding, because it's just going to be so cold. Unless I can get a flume for the coal forge in this shop, we have to do all of our coal forging outside. And until it starts getting warmer again, we just aren't going to be able to do that. But I do have a few other things that I would like to do. I want to do another set of tongs. I haven't decided what type. I'm thinking maybe wolf jaw. I do a lot of bolt tongs, but I don't have any good wolf jaw tongs. So I'll probably add that into a couple streams for that, and a couple other tools that I have my eye on making, and hopefully we can get those done. But yeah, that is my plan for the next few months, or I guess the next few weeks, because I haven't really said the next few months necessarily, because between Christmas and the spring, there's a lot there, and I am also doing, or I guess I haven't told you what the plan is for there. Hey Bubba, welcome to the stream. I am actually planning on doing a little bit of a technique called piercing. It's another silversmithing technique. And part of the reason that we're thinking about doing more silversmithing techniques over the winter time is because I can do those in the house. I have a little work set up there as well. I don't have heat out here, so when it gets super, super cold, it would be nice to be able to stream in the house that's heated. So I will be doing a technique called piercing. And basically what that is you take a piece of sheet steel and you put a design on it, and you use a jeweler's saw and you saw out the design. So then you're left with a negative and a positive, and so you can do some really amazing stuff with that. Sounds like a nice plan. The armor making would be really impressive to watch. Yeah, I've done several pieces of armor already as an artist, never any on stream, but I mean, I have a few pieces that I could probably show. Man, it's cold out here. And here's a piece. So this one is a knee cop. So you can wear it on either side. This is the finial that goes on the outside there. None of this armor is padded or like attached to buckles or anything. But yeah, this one is a knee cop. And then these guys are pieces of sabatons. It's this one. This side goes on this side. So you kind of wear them as a shin guard. So I've got a few different pieces. At one point I was making almost a full set. That's all sheet. It's kind of thinner, some of them. It is not actually thick enough to be worn for like HEMA or anything like that. It was more for decoration. We'll probably do some stuff, hopefully that would qualify for fee. It was named after a shin guard. Yeah, sabaton is typically, it is armor that is worn below the knee and onto the foot. Usually a sabaton is inclusive of a foot articulations. The World Cup tournament is starting soon. They could use some of those shin guards. I don't know that they'd want those shin guards. I mean, if you kicked the shin wrong, you could like slice your shin up, you know, take gouges out of somebody's leg. That would not be cool. All right, let's do another heat. Like I said, we're going to do this heat on the anvil. We are going to try and true up our right angles. Right now we have a very acute and obtuse angles, and I want to correct that, give ourselves 90s again. Or I completely miss. That works too. dropped it. Alrighty. Okay, so back in the forge we go. We are going to continue working on trying to true up these corners a little bit further. And then we are also going to take a little bit of time to do a little bit of upsetting back. We've got a little bit of fish lipping going on, and I definitely want to take care of that before we really start working on it. Before it gets bad. So today I updated the outro screen. So all of the new subscribers are present on the end screen, so you guys can see that. And I want to thank you guys all for your continued support, whether you are a follower, a viewer, or a subscriber. Thank you guys so much. I really don't like this cup. Definitely do not like that cup. I feel like I got a hole in my lip, but you know, it's the cup because there's liquid coming out from between the lid and the cup itself. Annoying. So let's see. Is there anything else exciting that's going on in the land of Ray's Smithy? I don't know. I already talked to you or told you guys about my TikTok woes and how I was having trouble uploading my TikTok videos for next week. So normally TikTok is very much you use your phone and you record what you're going to record and then immediately post it. But they started letting you schedule posts. So I've been using my schedule for my YouTube shorts, and I've just been cross-uploading them to both platforms. And so this week, I learned that they had a new feature, and that new feature allows me to upload a long-form video. So like the ones that I upload on Wednesdays. Did anyone else get about 13 seconds of buffering there? I don't know. I hope not. I apologize if so. It does say I'm a little bit unstable, so there might be a little bit of buffering, a little bit of a desync. I'm not sure. Thank you for having such an interesting subject for a stream. Well, thank you for watching, you know? But yeah, as far as TikTok, so like, I don't know, I tried using their new feature. It allows me to put a long form video up and chop it up into shorts. And I think I encountered a bug because it crashed me out of the TikTok. And that stunk. Aren't all blacksmiths a little unstable? I know I'm a little unstable. Definitely a little bit unstable. So yeah, I finally got the TikToks uploaded today, but it locked me out for most of the day. And it locked me out on my main computer today too. I had to upload them on the butler's computer. I do not like this cup. I keep saying that and I don't do anything about it. I should do something about it, you know? But I'm probably not going to because that would take effort and, you know, pre-planning. I have some pre-planning, but most of my pre-planning is like, which video am I gonna upload next? What project am I gonna do next? I don't have like short-term pre-planning to make sure that my cup is filled and clean. All right, let's do another heat. This one might be a little bit shorter. We shall see. Hey, I might have to fight it a little bit. Alrighty. It's starting to get there. Okay, so we're gonna put this back in the heat. It's looking like we're getting really close to squaring off again. Should be able to go back to the press soon. Do I have German heritage, constantly grumbling and complaining, but do not change anything because it's the way it was always done? I had a TikTok upload hang at 67% for a week once. I couldn't cancel it or upload anything else. Then one day it was just ready to view when I logged in. See, I think that's what's happening, you know, with my TikTok video. And Sandwich, I have a lot of Polish ancestry. So I don't think I have German ancestry necessarily. But, you know, I do have a tendency to complain and not change anything. I think a lot of people do that, though, you know? Goodness. But yeah, I was trying to divide up my Paul Kennedy video that I uploaded for Wednesday's video. And I was trying to divide it up into different segments that I could use as TikTok shorts. But it kind of broke and it's kind of hanging there, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. I guess I can use my laptop to upload TikToks from now on, but that also means I have to like download them or transfer them using hard drives and stuff. Did you find a suitable bucket or tub for your propane? Not yet. I have to be very careful about when I purchase my upgrades, and I have to wait for paychecks and stuff. I'm kind of paycheck to paycheck. This week's paycheck, though, I don't think it's going to end up going towards a bucket as much as I would want it to. I've got a few stands I need because I'm moving a few of my pieces of equipment from one area to another, and I'm putting some pieces that were in storage into use. So I will probably need to be putting my funding for this paycheck into stands. Oh, I was wondering if you had settled on something. Not yet. I don't know, or like I know that the propane is starting to freeze, but for whatever reason it hasn't really been a problem yet. I'm sure it will soon. Winston Smith from 1984 was reviewing it for from approval. Something like that, right? So yeah, I mean, we haven't had an issue yet, knock on wood. But I also feel like, you know, it's gonna happen soon. All right. I am going to do one more heat here on the face of the anvil, and then we'll move back to the press. This heat is going to kind of do the last little bit that I need to do so that I can square off this piece. Because we're still kind of a little bit off kilter. I think we'll do all right. Come on. Come on. All right, I think that'll work. So back in the heat. Back in the heat we go. Do you guys remember when this was a round disc of steel? It's a pretty nice piece or block of steel now. The bits and bytes ended up in the internet black hole. They will emerge 300 years in the future. There are other stereotypes regarding Polish people. There are, and we're probably going to leave those there because I don't want to get too insulting. Seems like only yesterday. That was the same axle that the axe came from, right? Yes, it was. But it was a much thinner slice off of that same axle. So the axe came from a chunk that was like this long. This chunk is about this much. So a lot less material. This one is slightly over 1 pound of material. The axe was over 5 pounds. So yeah, it is the same material. It's that 4140. However, this is a lot smaller, and that's exactly what we want to see. So we are still thinning it out just a little bit further. I do want to lengthen a little bit, thin it out. It's still a little bit on the fat side. Sorry if you said this before and I forget, but what do you usually cut your steel with? A bandsaw. Yes, a bandsaw. So I have a portaband, and it's a Milwaukee, like from before I was born. That thing just keeps running and running and running. So what I do is I take it and I grab a hold of the handle in the vise, and I like squeeze it on there so it's not going to jiggle around or anything. Tighten it on, and then I have a zip tie that holds the trigger down for me. And so I plug and unplug it in order to start and stop it. I really need to get a hold of a pedal for it, because I think that would be the most convenient. And I believe that, but that is one of the things that I am hoping that we can kind of find a solution for this weekend on this paycheck. I have another post vise that I want to mount. I want to see about getting another bench grinder with, a buffer on one side and a wire wheel on the other. And yeah. If it is such a classic bandsaw, would it rather be in an orchestra saw? I'm probably sandwich. So yeah, that's the plan. I want to be able to polish things and clean them up. I want to mount my bandsaw, and I want to mount my other post vise. I don't know. It might come from a big band era. Could be, could be. Is it brass or is it a string or is it a drum? Fair. Something like that. All right, I'm gonna move this camera back over to the opposite, or to, not the opposite, the other side. We're going to put it over by the press. Oh yes, let's completely and totally put it out of focus. There we go. Heck yeah. We good, we good. I heard orchestra saws are quite rare. I mean, there are some like pieces of music that actually call for a saw blade, but those are typically like a hand saw or like a wood cutting saw, like, you know, the 2-person big old ones. I saw an orchestra once. I've seen quite a few different orchestras. I mean, I saw my high school orchestra. I've seen the St. Louis Orchestra on numerous occasions. They're actually really good. They do weekly events in the summer in Forest Park. So I can go out there and watch them. A lot of the ones that they've been currently doing are like, they'll play like a movie or a TV show and they will play the orchestral pieces from the soundtrack. So they've done Game of Thrones, they've done Lord of the Rings, they did Star Wars. So those are really cool because like it's a actual full orchestra, and then you can also see like the movie at the same time. They are kind of cost intensive due to the high number of people needed to handle it. Right? I have one of those 2-handed saws and a few hand saws. I never tried to play one though. They have a weird sound. You kind of like wiggle them a little bit, you know? The Quiet One, thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. You can be quiet if you like, or you can totally chime in. You know, either way is fine by me. Thank you so much for your support, though. All right, let's do another heat on the press. And I don't think I'm going to use these tongs. I think I'm going to go back to these tongs. Getting a little bit more movement, but I totally expected that. As we get smaller and smaller, that it's going to take less and less effort to heat things, and we're going to get more movement. So we're going to turn this 90 degrees, and we're going to do another heat on this side. Then we're going to flip it over and start working on the side that the tongs are on right now. So we probably won't get to punching the hammer eye today, but we should be able to start that on Monday. So we will definitely be ready to use our punch so that we can put the hole for the handle of this hammer. I don't know what I'm doing. I tried to put my water in the hammer rack. That's kind of weird. Goodness gracious. And here when I don't have my my paper towels full today. That still doesn't look like a hammer yet. Yeah, it's been we haven't gotten much movement today. I'm a little disappointed in the amount of work I've gotten in. I would totally say that it's because it was super cold when I started, but I don't necessarily think that was it either. It might just be because, like, you know, I talk a lot and I haven't got very many heats in. But then again, I'm also really impatient, so I haven't been waiting for the stock to heat all the way through. So I think it's a combination of all of the things thereof. So yeah, just have to squint at it and then imagine how it will work. Something like that. So yeah, we are going to be continuing to work on this guy. Hopefully on Monday we'll be able to start punching in the eye. That would make me really happy because at that point it will definitely start looking like a hammer, you know? I'm just picking. Keep up the good work. Well, thanks. Yeah, I'm trying. It's like we started with that round puck. It was about yay big and about yay thick, and we finally gotten it to a manageable little key, or like a little block of steel. I want to make it a little bit longer and thinner, but we're really close to where we need to be. Like I said, on Monday we should be able to start punching in that hole. But yeah. Hello everyone, says the quiet one. Hello. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for that follow and thanks for your input. I love to talk to all of the new viewers and all of the viewers in general. It's one of my favorite things. I get really excited and sometimes I forget that I'm supposed to be blacksmithing out here. I just like start talking. Like I said, that's partially why I haven't made a lot of progress today. But that's all right. That's all right. We're patient. Things take as long as they're gonna take. I just wish that I was a little bit better at estimating how long things will take me, you know? I used to be pretty good, but since I got sick and I only forge a limited amount of time, it's a lot different now. Ray, is this a full-time job for you or do you have an additional occupation? I am a full-time content creator. So I do film and I stream about 7.5 hours a week. But I do actually put 40 hours into content creation. If I'm not out here streaming and shooting, I am in the house editing content and like videos. So I put content out on YouTube. So I do like condense videos of our projects and I post those on YouTube. I plan trips that we go to. We went to Quad State this year. We also went to the Missouri Blacksmith Association Conference and the Indiana Blacksmithing Conference. So I have a couple other locations that are kind of in the works, and once those are a little bit closer to nailed down, I will reveal those. But yeah, I am a full-time content creator. This is my only occupation. I just choose to blacksmith as the thing that I make content about. We have tractor parts to straighten out in the forge today if Adam ever gets out of bed. He likes to wait till the hot part of the day to get started. Ooh. Yeah. Make sure you stay hydrated. I see a portal. I mean, there is a portal to hell right there, right? It's a portal to something. A lot of heat. Welcome in, Jet Pinky. All right, let's do another heat. Whoops. So you probably noticed that the press kind of jumped there. There's a bump right in here, and I'm trying to squish that bump out without getting rid of our square corners that we just spent that time making. So it is the press. The reason it is jumping like that is because it's slipping. I'm holding it where there's air on the bottom, and so it's slipping over and forcing me to move that stock into that air. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of hammering to kind of get rid of that. Got to be careful that we don't end up breaking our machine. Hey, Mahalo. What are you straightening, Lexi? One of those bolts on the lower arms that holds the shredder broke off. So while it is apart, we are going to unbend them, and they're all tweaked and twisted from hitting trees. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. So because we're getting pretty late in the stream, we probably only have a couple heats left. What I have done, because I don't want to jerk the press again, is I have flipped the material over. There is a little bit of an area that I think that I can squish down before I have to deal with that bump that was creating that slip. So I will try and see how that works. If it's not working for me, then we'll probably end the stream there. And I will deal with that bump on Monday. All right. I do like that this tumbler is a lot bigger than the one I normally take out here. That's kind of why I grabbed it in the first place, because it holds like, you know, at least 50% more water than the other one. And I was like, well, maybe I won't have to fill it. And instead, it's just, you know, being a nuisance. Oh yeah, well that will happen. I heat them up with my oxyacetylene torch and then use a big cheater bar to straighten them. And those bolts should be shear bolts designed to break before you bend stuff. That cup needs a Ray Smithy sticker. It has a Channel 4 logo on it. It does need a Ray Smithy sticker though, if I'm going to continue using it. I think I don't think I'm going to continue using that specific tumbler because I think it's like the glue is kind of acting funny. Liquid or like water is leaking out from between the lid and the tumbler itself. So I'm thinking that I will probably see about finding a bottle that's closer to that size, or maybe I'll just start using my Nalgene. I have this big old Nalgene from way back when. It's about a liter of water. I might pull that one out. I used to use it because I had kidney stones, or I guess I bought it when I had kidney stones, and I stopped using that one. It's just so big. It's hard for me to hold it. So I like the smaller cups because they're easier for me to hold, but I don't like water leaking out. All right. I think I'm going to do 2 more heats. Unless we get more slippage. Like I said, if that bump causes the press to jerk, I will probably end the stream a little bit early because I want to make sure that I am safe. When the press jerks like that, there's always a risk that something might break, and I want to make sure that I am not in the damage zone if it does break. So I looked it over the first time that jerk happened. It seemed all right, and I think it still seems all right for the moment, but I don't want to exasperate it. So if we end up ending stream because of the bump, what we'll do is the first couple heats will be here on the anvil, taking care of that bump, and then we'll go back over to the press. Unfortunately, we don't have a torch here. I could get so much more done if we did, right? I have a oxyacetylene torch, like a rig over there, but it's like got the mini bottles, and the oxygen bottle is like half the size of the acetylene bottle. So in order to have enough oxygen for the acetylene, I have to refill the oxygen 4 times, and before I have to refill the acetylene, and it's so inconvenient because it's like you use twice as much oxygen as you do acetylene, and it's just, I can do like 1 job with it before I have to refill it. It's a pain in the butt. I need a bigger one. So I tend not to use it, you know? All right, here is our first of our last 2 heats. We have turned this around, so hopefully we won't have to deal with that giant bump. There we go. pretty well. So now we're gonna toss it in the forge this direction. We're gonna turn it 90 degrees, or we did turn it 90 degrees. We're gonna deal with this a little bit. We're getting about where I want it to be. Remember, this is our model. So we're getting there, but we got a little ways to go. I had a Victor journalman and regulators and a set of full-size bottles. Sold the whole set for $200 when I was garage sailing all my equipment before I moved to Australia. Ooh, that is sad. That is like an insane deal, though. Would have been nice to get a hold of. I mean, it cost about $200 just for like one of the tanks, like used. I use an e-bottle of oxygen and a 50-liter of acetylene. That's pretty big. Pretty big. Like I said, I wish I had something that size so I can go for a while. Yeah. Like I said, I can only really do like one job before I have to refill my oxygen. I don't know why they even sell tanks that are that teeny. I don't know. Maybe what I need to do is take my oxygen tank like the tiny oxygen tank, and put it together with a propane tank and do oxypropane for my soldering, for my jewelry stuff. For the one job wonders, right? I feel like maybe if I used it for soldering as opposed to like an actual oxyacetylene rig, it might work a little bit longer. The torches are so much different. Like, so a jeweler's torch is like yay big, and you really don't have to have that big of a PSI or like that big of a regulator or tank when you're the only jeweler, right? But the oxyacetylene rigs, they got, you know, theirs is like pretty big, you know? And then you've got different heads that you put on the torch, right? You've got your rosebud head, and you got your cutting head, and, you know. So, I don't know. I'll probably attempt to use the oxygen tank for my jewelry setup, as opposed to my oxyacetylene rig that I'm supposed to have in here. That is not a torch. Pulls out her oxyacetylene torch. This is a torch, right? Like I said, they're like itty baby ones. Babies. But I mean, if I used a giant, like, you know, this big torch when I'm trying to solder a wedding ring or like an engagement ring, like, you know, put the setting in or resize it, I'd melt the whole thing like that. So you gotta have a teeny torch for a teeny job, and you gotta have a giant torch for a giant job. I feel like you can appreciate that, right? It would melt like that, yeah, it would. Gotta be careful. Gotta get the right tool for the right job. All right, I think I am out of water, but I'm gonna attempt to get the last dregs out of here. So size does matter after all. In some aspects, yes. In some aspects. All right, we are going to do our last heat of the day on the press. So if there's anybody you guys would like to raid off to, please do let me know. I always take suggestions. Otherwise, I will find somebody. J.K. Knudsen's been doing some stuff lately. Which direction was I doing? This direction? Yeah, I think I put this in sideways. see if I can. Hey, that's better. That shall work. I think. Alrighty, y'all, I think that is all she wrote for the day. Put that over there. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I have had a blast. I hope you guys have as well. I am gonna snooze this ad so that I have enough time to raid off. I was copying Crocodile Dundee there for a while. By the way, that makes sense. For some things it does. I hope you have a great weekend. Yes, you guys as well. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a wonderful rest of your day and a great weekend. Technically, I could use 2-row planter and a horse to plant my fields, but it would take me months. It would. Who is on? Oh, I should probably put my outro on. Here we go. Transition. That way you guys can see something entertaining. Alright, let's see. Oh, Valencia is on. Let's raid Valencia. It's been a while. There we go. Thanks for the stream. Cool to see a blacksmith process and hear the stories. Yeah. Have a wonderful weekend, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I will be here on Monday at 2:30 Eastern. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.